Welcome to another St. John Norrona midweek message. This one is a little different. We are at the site of a tragedy. I'm sure some of you will recognize this spot. This is a hilltop directly south of Strasbourg, directly north of Norrona, halfway between roughly our two congregations, our two parishes. This is a hilltop referred to as Old Baldy, and it is the site of a tragedy. This road. I'm sure there are many, probably most people in the parish, either at Strasbourg or out at Norrona or in Bulyea, who could tell the story better than I. All I know is what I've read and heard. But this hilltop had a significant meaning. This hilltop had a stone on the top of it that I have yet to see. And this hilltop has a commanding view of the area all around. This hilltop was a sacred space. And it was known that this stone had some significance to it. And I understand it is in a collection in some sort of private museum, which, as I said, I haven't been able to find yet. But it was on the highest point of the hill, which is no longer there. The highest point is now somewhere in the middle of what is now a road. You can see the incredible view all the way around, 360 degrees, as we look south at this point towards Norrona, east towards the rising sun and towards Bulyea, and around to the north where you can see Strasbourg in the distance. A few years ago, there was a decision made to build this road right over the top of the hill because it happens to be on the grid line. There were those who said, no, you can't do that. Go around the hill. Don't desecrate the hilltop. Don't move that stone that's been there for who knows how many generations. There's some significance to this place, and it shouldn't be destroyed. But progress, grid lines, map lines, and the decision to do things according to Western or European preferences and priorities won out. And the road was built straight over the top, cutting the top of the hill right away. I feel very sad about that, and I'm sure many people do. We don't do a very good job of listening sometimes. We don't do a very good job of respecting other people sometimes. It would have been very simple just to put the road allowance around the outside of the hill. Save a whole pile of money on construction and not destroy the hilltop. Not desecrate Old Baldy. But this is done. And it is our challenge at this point to do what we can to try to respect the sites that we have left with significance. This too is part of our call as Christians, respecting God's world and respecting what people have done in God's world. Respecting those who've come before us and who have valued these places and loved them and cared for them and lived in them for thousands of years. Sometimes we do our recognition of land, that this is the homeland of the Nihilwak, the Saulteaux, the Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota First Nations, and the homeland of the Métis-Michif people. We do that because we recognize who was here first, before us. Before the colonies came, the colonizers. That this place has a history that predates us and a history that will go on after so-called white people don't exist anymore. We are here. God has put us here. This is God's place. And when we recognize that we are part of a bigger story, we become more than we otherwise would be. Let's do what we can as God's people to respect places that have a history we do not yet understand and could do better to respect, to honor, and to remember. God is here on Old Baldy. We are here in this place. And God is calling us to grow, to learn, to look not just to the west, but to look to the south, and to look to the east, and to look to the north, and to learn what we can, to grow, to become closer to our land where we live, to be planted here as God's creatures in God's creation, and to respect one another of all races, and to walk humbly on God's earth. Amen.